Hi, I'm Christi Kilroy, Executive Director of the Vicksburg-Warren County Chamber of Commerce, and we're here today on Coffee With. And today our coffee is a little light, a little clear, but I am thrilled to be having coffee with Lonnie Moore, who is a consultant with Franklin Covey. And typically it's a local person, but we have the pleasure this time of having a visitor from Florida. And if you could tell us, why are you in Vicksburg?
Man, it's such a pleasure to be here. I actually live in Tampa, Florida. I'm a former educator, taught in middle school for about 9 years. And about 10 years ago, I had an opportunity to take a course called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And long story short, I now work for this company called Franklin Covey. And we have a huge passion around education. As a former classroom teacher, my job right now is to work as an educational speaker and consultant. I've written a couple of books, actually, and in my travels, I get to travel all over the country and teach people about the 7 habits, as well as this thing called The Leader in Me. And there are amazing things going on here in Vicksburg. As I travel all around, a couple of weeks ago I was in Santiago, Chile, and I was looking at what they're doing in their education there. A couple more weeks in the future, I'm going to be in Bogota, Colombia. Later on tomorrow, I'm actually going to Miami, and then the day after that, I'm going to be in Knoxville. But right now, today, I'm here in Vicksburg, and I'm so excited about what's going on. The Leader in Me is something that's really, really having a huge paradigm shift around schools. Now, let me paint you a little bit of a picture. In schools, historically, there's something called the industrial age mindset. So when I say industrial age, what do you think? Do you think assembly lines? Do you think factories? Because that's what most people think. And if you go back to, say, the 1910s, 1920s, the factories, that's what it was. We had factories. And then we took those ideas and we put them in the classroom. And now suddenly, instead of producing these cars in an assembly line, now we're kind of producing these children. And what do? We took desks and we lined them up in rows and we put teachers there to impart knowledge. Well, it's funny because that was true in the 20s and 30s, 40s, and 50s, and 60s, and 70s. And you know what? It's still true today. And how sad is that? How sad is it that we're still using the same mindset in so many schools to educate kids the same way that we did back 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago? So there's this massive, massive change in thinking around education now. And it's happening here in Vicksburg. And what it is, it's bringing out the leader in every child. Now what I mean is that in the past, education was about the adult telling the kid what to do. Well, now, by allowing children to actually be in leadership roles, they take a lot more ownership of their own education, and it's just so incredibly exciting what's going on. Education has to change. The national dropout rate has been around 30% for a long, long time. Think about your own educational experience. Did you enjoy it? Was it fun? Did you have teachers who kind of unleashed the greatness within you? In our research, we found that most people, if you approach them on the street and ask them, how many teachers did they have that were really inspirational to them? Typically they say 2, maybe 3. How sad. Education can be different, and it is different, and it's happening right here in Vicksburg. I'm just so excited, Christi, about the things that are going on here in Vicksburg and everything that you guys are doing to help this new mindset happen in education. It's going to take a while for people to really kind of get it and to understand what's happening, but it's been a long time coming, and I think some exciting things are going to be happening.
I think we need to do something, and I think there's a lot at stake. What do you think is at stake if we don't do something?
I think it's just a perpetuation of the same thing. It hasn't changed. As I said, desks in rows, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, still you go into a lot of classrooms, still desks in rows. Why? Why? We have to look at it different. It's not just that desks and rows are bad, but it's more like what that really represents. A desk represents control. Why do teachers need to control? Well, they need to control if the kids are out of control. Well, why are they out of control? Because you're probably using the industrial age mindset with these kids to where you tell them, sit down, shut up, and do your work because there'll be a test on Friday. And if you can't, you're out of here. And teachers literally, one of my favorite quotes is, leadership by intimidation You can't lead by intimidation. Leadership by intimidation yields what we call temporary compliance. Oh, those kids will behave till you turn around, till you have a substitute teacher in the room. You can't keep that old mindset, because if you do, we're going to continue to have 30% dropout rate. We're going to continue to have so many challenges that we've been experiencing for so long in our cultures. Look at boys. The challenges that boys are facing in our culture today is huge. I'm trying to recall the data. I can't recall it exactly, but it's something to the effect in around 1975, colleges were made up of 58% male. Today, it's 44% male. Now, once again, good for the girls, happy for you, but where are all those boys going? You know, I go to some places, and especially some places that are really, really struggling, and I had a lady tell me this, and it just about brought me to tears. She says, Lonnie, in our culture, here's what happens. Our boys go to jail, and our girls either get pregnant or go to college. And we have to do something different, and this is something that's yielding great results.
Fantastic. Well, we talked a lot today in our sessions about the Leader in Me program.
Yeah.
Is that a curriculum that you're talking about, or what is the Leader in Me?
Yeah, so the Leader in Me is a process. And in fact, we don't even like to call it, some people call it the word program, and we don't like the word program to be linked to it. Yeah, right. We're going to have to change it.
I put that a lot in the emails.
Yeah,
too,
I know.
so
A lot of people have been using the word program. We call it a process, because it's not a program. A program is something that starts and ends. And the Leader in Me is not anything that ends. It's a process of leadership development and leadership growth that starts in young kids, 4, 5, 6 years old, and never ever ends. I mean, I continue to grow in my leadership even today, as I know you do, as well as everybody who's been in our sessions here today. So it's a Leader in Me process. It takes place in schools. Each individual school would basically express a desire to do this. There's a lot of training up front, as there has to be during the first year. There's about 7 to 8 days of training for an entire faculty. And if you are like me as a classroom teacher, and I heard that there was going to be that much training, I probably would have signed up to go on vacation or skip those days or whatever, because training has typically been pathetic in education in the past. Okay? We all know that. I went to so much in-service and professional development that it's been so horrible. But I'm telling you, we have really, really looked at training educators differently. And here's what happens. They want to come. Not only do they want to come to the training, they say, man, I can't believe the 7 days of training is already over. We wish we could do it longer. It's because of the way the training is done. It's more like almost a retreat type experience for the teachers, as opposed to some in-service type thing that you have to. It's not like going and getting a physical. You know, I mean, this is a very much an uplifting experience. But
a lot of personal growth. I think that distinction was made for me today about that particular training, that each teacher in there will do a lot of personal growth. But tell me, this is what I would call a deep program. In other words, it's not just teachers and principals when they take this on. It's faculty-wide.
Yeah, and it really has to be that way. Yeah, it has to be that way because we use the word culture, right? How do you impact the culture of a school? And the way that you impact the culture of the school is every single adult who is a part of the culture of that school has to really embody, and here's the key word, model what we're talking about. And we're talking about the timeless principles of effectiveness. Right? Timeless principles of effectiveness that are really kind of summarized in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that's why the 7 Habits are such a key part of it. But the 7 Habits are not the only part. They're simply the foundational part of it. So it's so important that every single adult in the building, cafeteria, custodial, everybody, parents, this is not just about the kids. The kids are the ultimate winner in the whole thing, the ultimate benefactor of creating this culture, but because of that, you really have to start from the ground floor up.
Yeah. That's a like I said, a deep program to me, and it's so fantastic to create a situation, and we talked a lot about environment today as well, where a student could walk into their school and have everybody talking the same language and everybody supporting them as they're supporting others. That's the other part. Talk about that, how, what a student leader, how they can help others, their peers.
So the student leaders, and it takes a while for the students in a school to actually be able to wrap their head around, well, I'm going to be a student leader. I'm a student in a Leader in Me school, so that means I am a leader. Well, leadership, there are two parts of leadership. One is leadership of others, and the other one is leadership of self. So the Leader in Me starts with leadership of self, because some kids can't lead others because they can't lead their own life. Their own life is in turmoil. Their own life is in crisis. So if leadership starts with self, then they can end up leading others. Now,
so is that choices, just to clarify, leadership choices for yourself? When you talk about self-leadership, that's learning how to make the correct choices.
It is. It really is. I mean, this stuff is very basic and very simple when you really get down to it. I mean, if we look at the 7 habits, being proactive, not reactive. So are you making that choice to be proactive, or are you constantly reacting and looking to blame others? Are you beginning with the end in mind? Do you beginning today with the end in mind? Do you have a plan, or do you go through and stay with no plan? Do you put first things first, or do you not put first things first? You don't even know what your first things are. Do you think win-win, or are you a bully? Do you think win-lose? Are you trying to be the one who dominates? Do you listen well? So those are what we're kind of talking about living, being a good person, really. So that's how you lead self initially. And then maybe we could become a leader of others. Now, how we do that in schools is a little bit different, though, because what we do is we actually put kids in leadership roles. I told the story that resonated with people, kind of pretty interesting today, about at the middle school that I was at, and I went out front, and those. Right. So I was going to go to this school to do an assembly, and I was going to be speaking to 500 kids. And as I pulled in, there were these 2 boys waiting out front, and no adults, no teachers. See, typically as a guest, I just came from out of town. I'm a guest in the school. You would think that the principal would greet me. No. 2 8th grade boys greeted me. And these 2 8th grade boys, they said, you must be Mr. Moore from Franklin Covey. And I said, well, yes, I am. And they both reached their hand out to shake my hand. It was amazing. I was so impressed with how they reached their hand out to shake my hand. And they said, well, we are technology leaders within the school, and we know you're going to be giving a presentation in the gym, and we're just here to help you with your technology. And then as we walked to the gym, they said, Mr. Moore, are you using a PC or a Mac? And I was impressed by they even asked that question, and I said, well, I'm using a PC. They said, are you using PowerPoint? I said, yeah, I'm using PowerPoint. They said, Mr. Moore, have you already embedded your videos into your PowerPoint presentation? And I said, why, yes, I have actually. These are 8th grade boys, 13 and 14-year-old boys, who are showing their leadership by, number one, just talking to me like a leader instead of, hey, what's up? What's going on? I'm here to escort. They weren't like that. They were acting as leaders. And I was just so impressed. And that's what happens. When you put kids in the leadership roles like that, they'll rise to the top.
They take it seriously.
They totally do. And sadly enough, what happens is a lot of kids, if they are kind of wild and crazy or maybe even a little bit loud, what do? We tell them to go sit down and shut up. Go sit down and be quiet. Go to your in-school suspension or whatever. That's that old industrial age mindset again that is pushing those kids down rather than unleashing them and allowing them to become who they can become.
Right.
It's an exciting thing. I get fired up about
Muriel
this.
Summers, with A.B. Combs, who was kind of one of the starters of this program, formalization of this program. I know the 7 Habits have been around for a long time. She told a great story, and I'll just share it. And
go ahead.
I want to hear about you, but
there
was a young girl who needed a leadership role, and they have to be creative. I mean, sometimes people are leaders. You gave some creative ideas about what they could be leaders in, just collecting papers at a young age. You're the leader in collecting papers, and you're the leader in passing out papers, or whatever that might be. But this girl, actually Chad Smith was with us when we told the story, was the leader of birthdays. And it was her responsibility to go to sing happy birthday to everybody in that school on their birthday.
How cool is that?
And
I hadn't heard that story yet. This stuff's
Chad
happening.
happened to go there, and Muriel said, I'm going to tell her it's your birthday.
Okay.
And she came out and she just belted it out. She loved it. That was her role. But she was a problem student, discipline issues, paying attention. But as soon as she had that responsibility of, I think they had attendance issues as well with her.
Yeah.
That's her responsibility. She was going to show up. She was going to be there, because everybody's going to get to hear me sing happy birthday to them. But I mean, how creative and wonderful to take that situation where that kid was in trouble.
Right.
And who knows, maybe needed attention in a great way. And so now that turns around. So that's just another story that I remember when you start talking about examples that, I'm going to be the leader of singing Happy Birthday. What a great thing in an elementary school. So I'll put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay, all right.
Is Vicksburg ready, and can we do this here?
Yeah. Oh, you're definitely ready. One of the main things here is having community support, right? In all of our schools and all of our school districts that we go to and work with, you got to have community support around it. It's ideal if you have it. And I've talked to just so many principals here today. And as I talk to them, I just see in their eyes how they're looking for, man, we're ready. Now, one of the biggest challenges for you guys is that you've got maybe a lot of people who are ready, and it's like, well, who's going to do this? What a great
problem to have.
It is a great problem to have. I mean, you've got, what is it, 14 or 15 schools? Is it 15 schools? Or
well, total with our high schools, but I think the elementary, 8 or 9.
8 or 9. So out of those 8 or 9 schools, which schools would kind of come on during year one, and you really do want to do that. Whenever you have a new process that's going to be implemented in any place, I think it's always better to start with 2, 3, 4 schools initially. Start that way, and then that going well, then it can progress up from there. We've got a lot of school districts that now it is district wide, because now they've built it to the point to where every school in their district has a leadership model within their school. But
it's be great.
It is. But
great.
Yeah, you don't need to start with absolutely everybody at first. You want to go ahead and get going with.
We need to see some results, and we need to see build and learn from what we've got here. I would imagine every community is different. There's some basic things that are the same.
Yeah.
But anyway, anything you want to end with? I want to first of all thank you for coming. I know you're on the road a lot.
Yeah.
We hope that we have made you feel welcome and comfortable while you're here. And I'll personally say I hope you come back to do some training.
That's right.
We'll go to next steps, and then we'll go from there. But anything you want to let people know? Or
Hey, I've got a lot of passion around this. We know it works. It's not some gimmicky kind of thing. It really, really is something that works. And I will say this, it's not easy. I would say this to all the teachers, all the principals who might have an interest in bringing this into your school. This thing's not easy. It requires a lot of work. But most of that work actually happens between the ears. It's not like we're out, washing cars and shoveling snow or anything. Yeah, there might be some fundraising or something, but it's a lot of work in the mindset. Once again, students find this easy. It's easier for students. A little bit more challenging for adults because we've been conditioned many years to think desks and rows. You got to look at it differently to be able to unleash the potential of kids because it's there.
Well, I think we have to do this or something. We have to do something. That's kind of what people keep saying. Well, let's do something. This is a fabulous thing, and I hope that we can do this process. See, I'm changing my language. Have the Leader in Me process come to Vicksburg. And private, public school doesn't matter. We just need to begin the process so that we can have a long-term vision for these wonderful things in our community. So, again, thank you for being here.
You're right.
And we thank you for joining us on Coffee With.